He had hugged his son too quickly at the curb, the way men do when they're trying not to feel the stretch of it. The boy rolled his suitcase toward the automatic doors, waved once without turning back. It was all clean and efficient, the kind of goodbye that lets you believe nothing important is shifting. The drive away from the airport felt lighter than it should have. Traffic moved. The radio stayed off. He told himself he'd done this part right, raised a child who could leave without drama. The house ahead existed only as a concept, a place to put down keys, reheat coffee, reset. The call came before he merged onto the highway. He almost let it go to voicemail. The name on the screen, Maribel, was a comfort, not an alarm. 10 years of Fridays and folded laundry, the same lemon cleaner smell, no matter the season. She never called unless a delivery needed signing. When he answered, she didn't ask how the trip went. "Don't go home," she said. Her voice was level, almost instructional. "Please, check the cameras." "What?" He laughed once, reflexively. "Maribel, the cameras?" She repeated. "Not louder, more precise. I'll stay on." He pulled into the shoulder without deciding to. The hazard lights clicked on, a small, domestic sound. He told himself there would be an explanation that preserved the shape of his day. A false alert, a misunderstanding. He opened the app because it was easier than arguing. The feed took a second to load, spinning circle. His own breathing felt too present. The kitchen appeared first. The counters were clear, as he'd left them. The light over the sink was on. It shouldn't have been. He rewound 10 minutes, watched a hand enter the frame, and flicked the switch with a familiarity that made his stomach hollow. Not gloved, not hurried. "Seeing it?" Maribel asked. "Yes," he said, though he wasn't sure what was yet. The hallway camera showed motion without a body for a moment, sound registering before form. Footsteps. A door opening and staying open. Just a little too long. The feed from the den stuttered, then smoothed. Someone crossed the room and paused by the bookshelf. He recognized the pause. It was where the floorboard creaked unless you stepped wide. He sat very still. Recognition arrived without words, without the rush of anger he expected. It was more like math clicking into place. Access. Habit. Trust becomes invisible until it's used against you. He didn't say the name. Saying it would make it theatrical. "Do you want me to leave?" Maribel asked. There was a question in her voice now, careful. She'd crossed a line she'd been measuring for years. "No," he said. "Please stay where you are." Memory began to surface, unhelpful and relentless. The time Maribel had mentioned a door left unlocked, and he'd smiled, said the house was old. Way she'd once asked if he wanted the cameras repositioned, and he'd waved it off. Too much, he'd said. "We're not that kind of family." He watched the figure in his den open a drawer that held nothing important anymore. The violation wasn't what was taken. It was how little effort it required. "Maribel?" he said, keeping his voice even. "Call the number on the fridge. The one for the neighborhood patrol. Tell them the homeowner is requesting assistance." There was a pause. "Yes," she said, heard the relief in it, not fear. Permission. He didn't drive home. He didn't confront. He stayed where he was and watched. Felt like cowardice until it felt like control. The app split into 4 views. The house became a grid, a set of facts. When the patrol car pulled up, it was almost disappointing in its ordinariness. No sirens! Vehicle easing into the driveway as if for a routine check. On the screen, the person inside the house froze. That, finally, was dramatic enough to feel real. A knock. A voice muffled by walls he'd painted himself. The door opened. Authority entered the frame the way it always does, with paperwork, with posture, with the quiet assumption that this would be recorded and reviewed. He didn't watch the rest, closed the app, and sat with his hands on the steering wheel until they stopped shaking. Maribel came back on the line. "They're here," she said. "They asked me to step outside." "Thank you," he said, and meant more than the words could hold. "You did exactly right." After things happened without him, statements were taken. Access codes changed. The locks made a new sound when they turned, sharper than before. The house was cleared, then returned to him like a file with notes attached. He drove home only when it was done. The patrol car was gone. Maribel was in the kitchen, her bag already on her shoulder, as if she might be dismissed for noticing too well. "I should have listened," he said. She looked at him for a long moment. "You listened today," she said. It wasn't forgiveness, was accuracy. That night he didn't sleep much. He walked through rooms that felt slightly rearranged, even where nothing had changed. Safety, he learned, wasn't the absence of threat, it was the presence of attention. In the morning, texted his son a picture of the sunrise through the kitchen window. "All good at home," he wrote, choosing the smallest truth that would hold. The house stood. The routines would return, modified. Trust would not be what it had been, would be narrower, better lit. He turned the cameras off only when he was ready to look without them, and even then, he knew exactly how to turn them back on.